On Sunday we looked at the ways in which we experience the fatherhood of God and how we can model that to others. I want to suggest to you that most of our theology, which is our image of God and our beliefs about God, are not formed primarily intellectually, but relationally and experientially. And so while we can read the Bible, we can talk to other people, we can develop a certain understanding of ideas about God, it's cemented in a sense into our lives by the relational experiences we have and the life experiences that accompany those. And so as we contemplate what it means to form an image of God and then model or share that with others, it's helpful to begin by having a self-awareness of what is it that has shaped, or who is it that has shaped our image and understanding of who God is. Obviously, natural father figures are a significant part of that, where we've had those, positively or negatively. I'm thankful to say that my dad was a generally positive influence. No fathers are perfect. I'm certainly not. You can ask my daughter about that. But I'm thankful that my experience of fatherhood was generally positive and helped shape a positive image of God. As I look at the people around me, my grandparents, they were very contrasting in their experience of faith and the way in which they expressed that. One came from a background of trauma and been to war, took up alcohol as a way of dealing with that, could be quite violent when under the influence of alcohol. The other was quite rigid and religious. Both good men who loved me, but had very different experiences and understandings of God. And then there were other people in my wider sphere of influence over the years, teachers, mentors, older men, uncles, and each of them contributed something to the way in which I understood manhood and also the fatherhood of God. And so I want to invite you, as part of this week's exercise, to sit down and either mentally or on a piece of paper write down who have been the influences who have shaped your understanding of the fatherhood of God. Who have been the positive ones that you want to celebrate? Who have been the ones who have perhaps damaged your understanding by abuse or absence? That doesn't mean that you have to dishonour them. It's just developing a realistic picture of what shaped your understanding. What is it, in a sense, that's in dialogue with the way in which you read the Bible or hear Jesus speak about fatherhood, as we did from John 14 on Sunday? Just to recap, Jesus spoke there to Philip, who was saying, "Lord, just show us the Father and then we'll be satisfied." Jesus spoke to his disciples to remind them that when they observed him, they were observing and experiencing the Father. That the things that he said, the way that he treated them, the miracles that he performed were expressions of the love and power of God. Now, the second side of the equation for us is when we've come to a deeper understanding of how our image of God has been formed and is being formed, is to consider how are we impacting others. As I mentioned on Sunday, you don't have to be a father to have a fatherly influence on others. And you don't even have to be male to be modelling the fatherhood of God to those around you. As I said on Sunday, of course, if you are a male, you have a particular opportunity and privilege and responsibility to model the fatherhood of God. But all of us, as followers of Christ, are reflecting the character of God to those around us. It's both a privilege and a responsibility. And so I began to think personally about the ways in which I influence others. So there's my daughter, who's now an adult. There's our son, who's a 7-year-old. There are the young adults who share in our life and our home. There are other fathers in my sphere of influence who are younger than me, some of them older. We interact together in ways that reflect to each other the fatherhood of God. Alongside those relational experiences, there are life experiences that shape our experience of God and our understanding of God. One of the helpful exercises that I encourage people to undertake is to get a piece of paper and to map out your life journey and to mark out on that life journey the specific moments when you've had a sense of the presence or maybe the absence of God. As you do that, you might become aware of some other factors that have shaped the way you see God. If you felt that God was there for you in a moment of joy or crisis, it'll probably have shaped your sense of the approachability and dependability of God. It might be a great moment of joy in your life, like the birth of a child or getting a job. It might be a moment of grief or sadness when you lost a loved one, or a health crisis hit you, or you lost your job. In each of those moments, our sense of the presence or absence of God can't help but shape what we think about the reality and dependability of God. In a similar way, as we engage with others and get to know their story, we'll see those experiences shaping the way in which they view God. Our participation in their lives can reinforce or repair some of those experiences. If they've had a disappointing experience of God or sense of God, then we can't rescue them from that, but we can offer them an alternative understanding of the faithfulness of God by how we treat them and how we're there for them. Perhaps one of the most significant understandings that's been developing for me is the power of unconditional love, what the Bible calls agape love. And so I want to invite you, as you reflect on your own experience of the fatherhood of God, and you look at how you might model that or are modelling that to others in the various generations in your world, to ask yourself, how could you this week demonstrate the unconditional love of God to others in the kind of way that Jesus did? I hope that helps you go deeper in your understanding of the fatherhood of God and your modelling of that to others. Love your feedback in the comments on Facebook, and look forward to sharing more with you this coming Sunday. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.